Good afternoon and welcome to our latest webinar. And today we're going to be looking at how you can do one of these, a live event using 365 and do shared training. So it can be really challenging bringing together small or large groups of people for engagement and training. And the way we work in policing has significantly changed over the last few years with the COVID and everything else that's gone on. But regardless whether it's a small group spread across a force or a regional group or national or even international, we need to find effective ways of bringing people together and enabling the sharing of content and allowing that engagement to happen. And of course, we've all turned towards virtual events, but these pose new challenges. And you can't quite replicate the same approach as you would in a classroom. And actually, I would suggest you should change your approach to it to get the most out of the new approaches of technology. And perhaps actually you'll be able to do more than you think you can do compared to the old-fashioned way of doing it. We also have to recognise it can be a real challenge for a presenter who's often more comfortable speaking to a huge audience of hundreds of people than a tiny little circle of a dot on a webcam on top of a screen. So we have to think about how we support our speakers as we do that. There's lots of different ways to do this, and today we're going to bring in a couple of colleagues from a national team who perhaps wouldn't normally be sharing the limelight so much on this, but Katie and John are going to take us through that. And I'm going to ask them to explain their role first of all, but take us through the challenge they faced and how they went about it. So, John, over to you.
Dave, thank you very much. I have, hopefully, from all your expertise and all your training, now sharing my slides with you as well, and I've put together a very small presentation on actually how we worked with PDS. So Katie's with me as well today. So my name's John. So I'm part of the UK's counter-terrorism hostage negotiation team. And like Dave said, we're very much used in our negotiation training to doing this face-to-face in a classroom and working with 20, 30 people, maybe at a conference doing 50 to 100 people, but we're very much used to doing it face to face. So really excited to share this with you. We were given a heck of a lot of help by PDS, and it's only right that we kind of reciprocate on this event today. And I just think it's so useful what we did and the way it's gone forward. And I'm hopefully going to get that across to you today. So yeah, I'm going to show this one straight off because I love this slide, and this is something that Dave put together for us for our event. And I just put this in because it's just one of the real great nuggets of kind of gold dust that Dave sprinkled onto our event himself. And this is what Dave used to kind of open our event up with, and it's just so much more interactive and so much more exciting than our it's got some other little bonuses to it as well, as Dave I'm sure will go through later on. But yeah, it really just brings our event out and much more interactive than just a normal slide as we tend to put on our presentations. So this is what we used to. So Katie and I do a lot of arranging of conferences, a lot of arranging of training in our role. And in 2021, trying to get used to, post-COVID. So in November, we did a big event and we ran it in Manchester with some of our counter-terrorism colleagues, and we wanted to hit as many negotiators as we can. So we did it in a hotel, as we normally do it. 100 people were in the room, and we thought because of the COVID restrictions, let's get it online as much as we can. What happened? We got a hold of a private company. They came in for us, and we did it on Zoom because that really was the only thing that was available to everybody. We weren't quite all there with Teams at that point. And as you can see on there on the slide, it cost us about £12,000. That was just basically the hotel, the room, a bit of food, and a private company. But we hit about 250 people online, and we had 100 people in the room. So we took that away as well. What a great success for us. We'd never hit that kind of things before. So we thought about doing another one. We thought about doing something else. We've finally got Microsoft Teams where I am up in Greater Manchester. Lots of other forces online with it as well. Lots of comments came back to us to say, we don't really use Zoom. We need to use Teams because this is what we are now with the police and the corporacy of it. So that's what we started to look. And I was linked in with Rachel from PDS, and I was linked into somebody from Greater Manchester and said, speak to PDS, speak to these people, and actually just start to have a look at a Microsoft live event and from Teams and see what you think of it. So first meeting, we've met with some of the PDS colleagues, Mike and Dave, and we came away like this. This is me and Katie. We were kind of absolutely buoyant. We looked at it, we looked at the setup, we were talked through the setup, and we thought, yes, this is exactly what we want, exactly what we want to achieve. And I think this will be really, really good for us. So we were really happy. We set up our event, we sent it out. We sent it out to lots of negotiators. We've got over 1,000 negotiators in the UK. We've got networks all over the world, and we're thinking we're going to hit a lot of people with this, and it's going to be really, really good. So that was our kind of first meeting with PDS about it. Talked us through it, helped us set it up, talked us through the setup. Fantastic. And this is where my honesty is going to come in. So this was our second meeting, and it's really when we met Dave, and he kind of went through with us of how will it work on the day. What will it look like? What can we do? What's the interaction? How do you do it? And very, very difficult to do, not actually running through an event itself and having never seen an event either. So the fact that people are on this call today, you're actually seeing what we hadn't seen before. So very difficult to describe. And we came away from that meeting thinking, oh, what have we let ourselves in for here? We've already sent the invite out. We can't go back on this now. This maybe not be the right way. Absolutely not, indeed. When we met Dave face to face in person, was actually saw and was invited to a live event and saw how professional it was, and really how kind of simple it was. Yeah, again, changed our minds back onto it. So what did we do? We wanted to hit as many negotiators with continuous professional development as possible. And in our negotiation role, it very much is our second job. So lots of negotiators across the UK, they are doing it as their second role. So it's very difficult to get people together. But we've started looking a lot more nationally now around continuous professional development and making sure negotiators really are at the peak of their skills. And we've started to look, well, how can we actually, achieve that? How can people come away from their day jobs for an hour, 2 hours at a time and actually get that CPD? And it's really important that we do it. So myself and Katie also sit as part of the national training subgroup for negotiation as well. And it's something we thought, right, okay, let's get back to basics. Let's do some like kind of TED Talks, 45-minute inputs on what they've got on their course, updates, and let's see, how it goes. So we set it up at Sedgley Park in Manchester. I kind of still turn around to David and say, I felt we cheated a little bit because we put ourselves in a room, but because it was the first kind of event we've done, rather than all the presenters being remote as well, we got everybody together. And to be honest with you, it worked really well for us on that, because actually we very rarely get together ourselves as a training team anyway. So for us, even, it was just great to actually see each other and face to face. And as you can see in there, we've got Dave and Mike and Rachel from PDS who came along and supported us. We were very worried because we sent this out so far and wide. We thought, if we've got so many people, if it doesn't work, how does it look? That professional embarrassment and things like that. I can honestly say, when you look at those photos there, it was a great day. It was a great event. We chose that location because of the Wi-Fi, super fast Wi-Fi in that room, so we knew we could connect to it. We even put a couple of extra kind of Wi-Fi systems in the room that we have as well, that we use for training. So we kind of separated some of our computers to make sure they got the kind of strongest signal. But as you can see there, our setup, some of our presenters in the room. Dave was showing us actually how to use the chat and the Q&A function. And so that was kind of our little control suite that we had for the event. You have to excuse all those wires and things like that, though. That's the setup of the room, because it's so old it just doesn't have any plugs. This is our timetable. I thought it'd be useful just to quickly see what we did, and again, just to highlight the fact that we did just a small series of like 40-minute talks by our presenters, leaving us plenty of room for 15-20 minutes of questions before we moved on to the next one. And again, because our negotiators, it's their second job, we also felt people can look at this timetable and think, okay, what do I want to dip in and out of? And that's why I thought that the great thing about the webinar we did and the live event that we did is that some people thought, okay, I can join after lunch, or I can fit it in before my lunch, or that's the real key topic I want to talk in, listen to, and they can dip in and out. So that was fantastic. This was our kind of presenting room, so it was the kind of the other side of the building. Again, we put it on a separate Wi-Fi in that room itself, just so that it was completely stood alone. As you can see on there, the computer with the live event on it, and then we had the big screen with our camera and how our negotiators actually present. So this is Becky, who is our national training lead, and again, very much used to the fact that we present in a room with 100 people or in a classroom with 25, 30 people in it, and you're actually presenting to hundreds of people actually just looking at, like Dave said, that small little box on top of the screen. So it does take some getting used to, but I can honestly say after a few minutes our presenters really warmed into it, and absolutely no difference. We sat there thinking how great it was and how great people came across. Some little touches there again, you know, from the advice that Dave, Mike, and Rach gave us around, you know, treat it like you would do in a classroom. You know, you normally would have a bottle of water at the side. You'd be looking at a clock somewhere in the room to make sure your timings. You know, the fact that things will go wrong. I remember at the start of our presentations, the very first thing, which was my biggest stress, was we were bringing in DCC Ben Snuggs, who actually was remote in his office in Hampshire. That was seamless. He came on the call, gave his introduction, and then we went straight into our first presentation. And mistakes do happen, and things do go wrong. We kind of made the mistake very early on of we were using the chat function, and we had another person in our room with our presenter, again just to give them that kind of confidence of the things were working, and they were looking at the chat function and replying on the chat function, which did something so simple as it just took the cursor off the actual presenting screen. So when Becky was clicking the cursor to go to her next slide, it wouldn't work. Literally took moments to sort out. Dave just said, oh yeah, we're just off the slide, we're just off the actual screen, went into the room, moved the slide across, and bang, we were on again. And that, I can honestly say, was the only real kind of issue that we had for the whole day. The rest of it just was absolutely seamless. And as you can see there, you know, with the computer, you have got that visual support. You know, you can see Dave on there and one of our other trainers. You could see them in the background as well. So absolutely great system. So one of the things we did do at the end of our presentations, we put in the chat function a very quick short URL code for feedback, which we just did through Microsoft Forms that we had. And again, some learning that came from the PDF of this, of make it short, make it snappy, some quick questions, so we can get that very quick feedback. And as you can see on there, we had 136 responses. So at that time, there was about 350 people were actually on the event itself. So straight away, our psychologist was telling us that if you start getting 25% of people responding, you're on a good thing. And very, very quickly, 136 responses, people putting in their replies. So we got some really good, really quick feedback, which was great. As you can see on there, you know, the ease of access to the live event, people found it very, very easy, which was a complete change to our previous event that we'd done on this. Previous event, we had people struggling to get in the link, people where it kept dropping out, signal issues, access to Zoom and things like that. So straight away, you could see that, you know, most people absolutely no issues with getting in the event at all. We had loads of replies to what did you learn from the event itself, which was absolutely great for us around what we want to do for future events. And again, two quick kind of score markers of recommendation and relevance for the event as well, which again, you know, we're very proud of those kind of figures and really give us that quick snapshot to show, you know, we were hitting the mark with the event itself. And finally, I'm going to bring Katie in this as well to kind of help us out here, because the results, yeah, I thought just absolutely fantastic. The actual cost, you know, to be honest with you, like I said before, I felt we cheated a little bit because we put this in a room and it cost us £200 for us all to stay the night before. But it was really invaluable that because we had never done one of these things before, and because, like I say, getting everybody together, we were able that evening to just go through and find out what it's all about, sort of thing, just do a bit of a test event. And that's when we really showed it was just kind of so simple to do. We had, well, our attendance was 475, which was a real mix of actual individuals on as well. And this is where we really enjoyed the event as well. We were getting messages and photographs from people who would put their negotiator teams together on the day as well. So a team of 20, 25 people in a force, they put them into one kind of room, put the live event into as well, and it was a really good as a team building thing for them as well. So we were really really pleased with this. I'm going to bring Katie in and ask her to speak as well, because I think it's really important, because Katie was part of this and a key thing as well. I appreciate I've done all the talking, but I think it's the aftermath of this. It's the stuff that's come out of it is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to let Katie cover the kind of stuff we did around the languages and her role with it in the Atlas kind of network.
Hi everybody, I'm Katie Martin. I work with John on the national team. So the biggest takeaway for me about this was the fact that we could spread it globally and so very easily. So I represent the UK in a European network called Atlas, and colleagues across Europe are always very keen to get learning from the events that we run in the UK. The previous event, we'd had to fly them in, which obviously came at cost. Some people weren't able to make it. Whereas with this, we were able to spread that link. So that went out in 6 different languages, and it went out to 11 countries. And I know for a fact that we had those teams actually all sitting together. So that 475 online, we could probably almost double it. And the other thing that is a big takeaway for me on this is that we were able to create a link afterwards from the recording that we've been able to share through a cloud link across the world. So that 11 countries has probably also almost doubled. And even yesterday, I was able to send that link across to a team that John and I taught in the Far East over a year ago, and offer it up to the officer from the UK that works over their capacity building, in order to ensure that those officers are able to get their continuous development on what we teach in the UK. So the gift of this event just keeps on giving for us. I have to say, having PDS there to assist us was a real safety net. And I say safety net because actually they were so good at actually giving us the confidence to just get on with it. I can remember Dave saying, right, you're going to present, John's going on live, you're going to present, and I was like, what? I loved it. It was so fun, so much fun that they had to literally tear the mic from me. But having them there in the background was a real comfort blanket, and I just felt completely supported, and as if anything did glitch, there was someone there to be able to just very quickly and it would be sorted. But actually it went completely smoothly, and even that very initial glitch, no one in the audience would have noticed that. It was just me as Becky's number 2 going, help Mike, help Dave, help Rachel, and they were there. So yeah, for us this has changed the way we like to teach now. It's given us a hybrid, which I think is really important, and it also gives us resilience as a team, so that if we do go into any other form of pandemic, which hopefully we won't, but if there's any other situation whereby we are prevented from being able to travel to train, this is such a good fallback system for us.
I think that's really key in it, Katie. We've looked at it from the training aspect now of I'm kind of call it like the BBC iPlayer equivalent of we've hit the training and the initial interactions and things like that, but the amount of people that are now looking at this afterwards, the amount of people that go into our presentations, and where we've managed to put it with total ease. I think from our Crest one that we did, we still never have really managed to stitch it all together to show people. This one, within an hour, we were uploading the presentations into Knowledge Hub. We were able to separate them. We were able to send them to different people, different countries. It's absolutely fantastic. And the only thing I'll leave it on is around the Q&A function and the chat function. Certainly for some of the topics that we were talking about, really useful that you could actually just separate the questions. It's really useful that you can actually have the experts answering those questions either to individuals or to groups as well, and monitor those. And I think that's a great function of these events as well. So the future for us for negotiating, a change in policy for negotiators, something that's a little bit more complex that needs a presentation and explanations on it. This is the way that we're going to be doing that going forward, and we're certainly going to be planning more events on a yearly basis for our negotiators and keeping their continuous professional development up to speed.
Thanks, John and Katie, for that. And from our point of view, Mike, Rachel and myself, who helped you through the day, it was really great to see the confidence rocketing through the day. We were able to carry on with our day jobs. You certainly didn't need us there for the end of the day, but we were able to carry on with our day jobs to carry on doing the work that we were doing as well. And you know, the webinar functionality you use, it's actually called live events. Just to confuse the world, there's three different types of meetings. One of them is actually called webinar, but we call these webinars. They are actually Microsoft Live events, and it's exactly how we do our weekly Wednesday webinars using the exact same technology, and it's really powerful. So if we can just pop onto screen some of the different types of meetings, and I can quickly explain that. There's 3 or 4 core types of meetings on the Microsoft platform. The meetings that we all use every day are meetings, and believe it or not, you can actually have up to 20,000 participants in one of those, which sounds an absolute nightmare to be able to run an effective meeting in. It actually means in reality up to 1,000, but even that I would suggest is too big. That's where the webinar functionality or large meetings come in. You can have different roles in a meeting where you've got your presenters and your attendees, and you can mute every attendee to stop their mics being switched on and interrupting. So the difference between a large meeting and a webinar is it gives you a registration function on the front of it, and we use that for our PDS workshops, and there's a few links to them on the PDS website, including the one we're doing for internal engagement very soon. Live events are slightly different, and the way I described this to John and Katie when we started talking about this is like producing a little TV show. And you've kind of up to 20,000 people watching the live event at the moment. It has moderated Q&A. It's got specific roles for producers and presenters, and it gives you a lot more advanced production value. So we're choosing which screen to share at any given time. So very briefly to show you sort of how to set these things up. It all starts in Teams, as with most things we talk about when we're talking about 365. It all starts in Teams, and if you head up to schedule a new meeting, you'll see the cursor. You got the 3 different options: a normal meeting, a live event, and the webinars I mentioned. As I say, we confuse it slightly because this is a live event, but we call it a webinar. So you click on live event, and a new screen pops up. You pop a title in, set the date and time, and there you can start allowing your presenters and producers on the right hand side of the screen. There's plenty of guides online to help you with this, and you can just click through. So you can see here, this is a test event I've set up, and I've got Richard Atherton from the team being a presenter and Mike being a producer. And you can bring in the external contacts who aren't possibly from your force as speakers by turning on the allow presenters, pop their email address in, and they will get an invite to join as a presenter or a producer, and you can manage those across there. You then click the next button, and then this is the really important bit. You've got control over who's going to see this audience. So if you just want to do an internal event within your force or organisation, click the org-wide organisation, and even if somebody gets the link externally, they will not be able to access it. You can drill it down to departments, groups if you've got those permissions, or as we're doing today, this is a public event, so anybody with the link can access it. You've got a couple of options there where you can even plug in things to do green screen technologies and all clever switching, but we have never used that in PDS. We just use the basic Teams functionality. Then you scroll down, and these are your final key options that you need to be thinking about. Do you want the recording to be available to the attendees just by clicking the initial link, or do you want to control that and send that out? That's exactly how we do it. We put them on YouTube, and there, of course, you can manage your captioning up to 6 languages, and you can select which languages you're going to caption this in. And again, the users get live captions because they are getting a 15-second delay feed on what's going on. So the captions actually appear as we speak. And of course, you can turn on your Q&A option as well, so you end up with something like that. And of course, you can provide a link for people to get in touch if they're having any problems as well. So you just manage all that. And then a really important piece here: the attendee link is different to the producers and presenters. You never allow producers and presenters to forward their link on. There's a specific attendee link that allows attendees to join, and that's the one you publish. And even the people who get invited as presenters get a reminder: please don't forward this invitation to attendees. It's only time it's ever gone wrong for us in PDS is when those invites have been forwarded on, and there is a capacity issue in the back end. And then these are the three key things within the screen. You've got a meeting chat, so you've got a chat between us as producers and presenters of the screen, and I can see Rachel's just tapping in that at the moment. You've got your live Q&A, and of course that is moderated, so you get them in the queue, you can moderate and reply privately, publish them out, and then of course dismiss them after all. And of course you can bring in your participants, and we always have a backup plan. We like to have a backup plan in policing, don't we? We keep the mobile number of somebody if they do drop out. We can actually dial somebody in on voice only on mobile, so it does give us that option to work on those functionalities. And if I just carry on, flick through, in terms of producing the event itself, it is very much like producing a little TV show. So this is a little demo I set up yesterday. So you've got my share screen at the bottom. That's what I'm going to share. There's my camera. You can have up to 9 different presenters in your tray at the bottom, and you select which one appears. And there you can see I've got my queue of what I want to share and send out, but that is what I'm being broadcasting. And you get lots of controls of it. So you can have the presenter screen next to your speaker, and they can be different people sharing a screen to being on camera. And that works really effectively. So you've got all the control that you perhaps ever need and wanted. But what about after the event? You go back into the same Teams layout, and you get all these options down the side where you can download the recording, the Q&A, and the engagement report. And these are really valuable. So again, if you've got the recording you want to do as our colleagues at Hostage Negotiation did, they split their recording up into different segments, but you also get attendee reports. Here's one from a recent meeting where I've blurred out lots of the detail, but you can see the sort of detail you get of who's attended, what time they joined, what time they left, and then the Q&As as well. You get that to download, so it gives you some tools to be able to use after the event as well. So really powerful ways of doing it. We have got a couple of questions just popped in there, and it's a question from Natalie. Hi Natalie, I know you very well. Should all forces have access to live events? We only have Teams meetings. We've had to write a business case for the webinar functionality. This could be a game changer for our recruitment. Yep, you have the capability. It's just each force then gets to switch it on and off to use it. So again, you may need to create some business case, some training around it. Do get in touch with your business engagement manager if you need any help or support in accessing this. Certainly, we would not suggest that everybody in the force needs the capability of running a live event with the public. It is a specific thing, and it does take a little bit of getting used to produce these live events. We've done over 100 of them now, so it's quite second nature to us to run these live events, but it does take some getting used to. And what access permissions should us to capture collaborative events? Again, that would depend, Emma, on your build in force, whether it's a single tenant split into 2 for Sussex and Surrey, or whether it's a shared tenant, 2 separate tenants. You may need to do a public facing event, but then manage the link. So those are the questions we've had in on this. John, Casey, anything else you'd like to add on reflection of after doing these events with us?
No, I would say is I'm really enthused going forward now for these. I think it just took it to at that real professional level, and the feedback that we've had of people who are certainly watching the events afterwards is actually how professional it looked, and it really was easy. The support that we got of PDS, you know, to answer Natalie's question, you know, in GMP at the time, I had access to Teams meetings and webinar, not live event. And again, that was just a very, very quick email explaining to my business case why I needed that, and Rach from PDS supported that. The fact that you'd given us that training, and very, very, very quickly then that was turned on, and we were off and running. So yeah, and like I say, my big thanks to PDS for the help that you gave us on the day. It's certainly been a game changer for negotiation.
Thanks. Now, I got to the bottom of the hour, and they know, you know, how strict I am about trying to keep to half-hour presentations on these. Next week, we're going to be sharing a bit of work we've been doing around tracking and managing interactions and engagement. It's our engagement tracker, and it will be teasing what's coming through very soon with our key individual network for local policing tracker as well that we've been developing. So please do come along next week, and do hit the PDS website for our events. So we've got some fantastic events coming up where we're just moving things around at the moment to make sure they match. And of course, we've got the summit coming up. So please join us again. And remember, these webinars are available on demand on the PDS website. So we hope you can join us again very soon. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And thanks to John and Katie for supporting us. Thanks a lot.